Hi, I'm Dave from Brew and Build. On this site I hope to document two large parts of my life. That's brewing and obviously building. I've been brewing for about 5 or 6 years now, and I've been home building and renovating this 150-year-old farm property for about 13-14 years. Why do the two link together? Apart from being very large parts of my life, I need to get out of the kitchen where I'm currently brewing and into a more dedicated microbrewery, home microbrewery. So it's quite a difficult operation. I've got to link all of the systems together in the house, electricity, water, heating, and I've got to try and run them through a fairly long path to get out to the outbuilding, one of the barns we've got out the back of the farm. And that's where I'd like to build the little microbrewery. It's not going to be a short job. I make no apologies for that. I don't work particularly fast. I like to do things right, and when it comes down to it, I've got an awful lot of work to do on the rest of this house. You can see on the wall there that doesn't have any plasterboard on it. There's quite a lot to be done. My current brew situation is like many home brewers, and I'm brewing in the kitchen, and this is my current brew station, if you like. I'm brewing on a Braumeister 20 litre. I'm fermenting my ales in Spidel fermenters. I'm chilling via tap water with an immersion coil. I do brew quite a lot of lagers as well, and I've got some fermenters out there, glycol chilled fermenters, which I'll show you in a little bit of time. There's nothing wrong with brewing in the kitchen. It works well. Many home brewers do it, and we produce quite good beers doing it. It's just not ideal. If Mrs. Brew and Build wants to be cooking in the kitchen or something while I'm trying to brew, it gets quite crowded. It's much harder if I want to leave some mess overnight, and it's harder to clean if I do make a mess and I drop a lot on the floor, which, let's face it, we all do at time to time. My water supply is straight from the tap, but I'm quite lucky that our water is fed off a spring from directly up the hill, directly in front of the house. Having had the water tested when I started brewing, it is about as close to RO water or distilled water as I think you're likely to get running off the ground, which means my water profiles can be built effectively from almost an RO water base and up to get just about any water profile from around the world if I choose to do so. Okay, I said I'd show you the other half of the operation, out where I do quite a bit of fermenting. This is what we refer to as the bothy. It was quite a rotten timber building, which we ended up having to knock down, and we've rebuilt it since. It's fine as a brewing area. I have barely enough room. I've got a freezer here. I've got a conical fermenter there. I've got a converted keg fermenter in here, and I've got another conical fermenter in here. I've got all of my bottling equipment down here, and behind us I've got my malt supply, which is in separate barrels and nice and dry. One of the problems with the building is that it's not insulated. It is quite dry. The floor isn't sealed, however, so there's a bit of damp in here, but it does get very hot during the summer. Even up here in Scotland, it's still quite hot. Some days it can be 30 plus in this room, and then during winter it can get down to potentially -10. Because of that, I've had to insulate my fermenters. Even though I'm making lagers and I want the cold temperatures, it gets too cold during winter, but it also gets far too hot in summer. So in each of these boxes I have closed cell polyurethane foam. I've got my SS Brewtech stainless steel conicals in there. It is removable front cover. They all have removable lids so that I can access the top of the fermenter when I need to. To seal it, I have magnetic strips down the sides of the boxes so the lid fits, not airtight, but it does keep the air out quite well. With that, I can maintain the temperature to quite happily within half a degree, and the pumps don't need to come on, thankfully, from the glycol chiller down here. They don't have to come on that often. Even during the hottest part of summer, it maintains quite a sensible temperature. As I say, I also have a converted keg in this one that is fully temperature controlled through a temperature system. It's got a heating mat in the bottom of it. I've got plastic tubing wrapped quite a lot around the upper section of it. That's all plumbed in, also running off the glycol chiller. That's a future project, the plastic tubing. Whilst it works very well, it's quite slow to transfer any heat out of the keg. So I would like to change that at some point in the future and get it to be a bit more efficient. In this one on the left at the moment, same setup. It's another SS Brewtech conical, a uni tank, I should say. At the moment I've got cider in here, and you can see in the bottom at the moment I'm clearing the cider and it's full of yeast, so I've dropped all the yeast out of that. I'm about ready to start pressuring that up, and we'll get that bottled and carbonated and bottled shortly. Well, thanks for joining me. I know you didn't tune in just for an introduction. Hopefully I'll get more interesting content and more useful content up and running on the site soon. But until then, life's good, drink more beer.